Hello guys, welcome back to another Disney Pixar Cars Diecast review, and today we're reviewing Crusty Rotor, the Cars 1 stock car for Vinyl Toupee. Now, if you saw my Phil Tankson review, you all know that I'm being very bad in documenting what I've got in terms of reviews. This guy got around the same time as Phil, on Vinted, obviously. Different sellers, but Phil's obviously a little better condition if you saw that review. This Crusty is a little more beaten up, but I'm just happy to have a Crusty in my collection, because he was one of the last Cars 1 stock cars that I was missing. A lot of them being re-released from Thailand, and Crusty was as well, but I've never saw him in stores for some reason. Otherwise I would have probably picked up the Thailand re-release. Same with Floyd Mulvihill, I believe. Never really saw his re-release in stores. But yeah, I'm really happy to have this guy in my collection, because he was one of the last Cars 1 races that I needed. So, yeah, let's get into the review. So, Crusty was a background racer in Cars 1. He did not speak. He had a bit of prominence with one of the more leading racers, as in, like, he was in the higher positions, if I recall. His Meet the Cars bio, I believe, like, says he was a former salesman for Vinyl Toupee before getting hired. Which I think is really cool. You know, all the Cars 1 racers have these really interesting bios that make them stand out from, like, the rest of the background racers. Same with the World Grand Prix racers. I think the Cars 1 and World Grand Prix racers are, like, the most fleshed out generations of these background racers. They all have their individual personalities and all that, which I think is mainly in large part thanks to the Meet the Cars books. They always took great care, I feel like, early on with the new characters that not even new characters. In Cars 1, they were like fleshing out like backstories for all the characters in the Meet the Cars books. Like even the ones with like 1 second of screen time. It's really, really, really interesting. But yeah, he's had a few releases over the years. This, I believe, is one of his releases from the 2010s because the eyelids are flat. Earlier releases would have had raised, more prominent eyelids. So that's the main identifying feature here. That, and he rides a little higher on the chassis. I think the older releases ride a bit lower. So yeah, let's get into the review. So we have the stock standard, like, kind of firm expression that cars of this model have in Cars 1. The grille there, and the 76. On the hood we have the Vinyl Toupee logo, which looks really nice. I really like this pink design, it's really cool. Not many racers have this sort of design. Yeah, but you have the Vinyl Toupee logo. It's like kind of like 2000s-y, I think. Reminds me a lot. I know the different generations of the Vinyl Toupee design are like changing every year. I think the graphic designer for the Cars 3 versions always commented on how they're behind the times. Like this one is like from like kind of like 50s, 60s-ish design. This was like more 70s, 80s. Crusty, I think, is more 2000-y, or it could be 60s. I'd have to double check. It's more like early 2000s to me, which kind of makes sense. Or 60s, I'm not sure. Or this is 60s, that is 70s, that is 80s. That seems more concise. But there's not really a lot of consistency between the designs. But I think which makes Vinyl Toupee stand out as a sponsor, in my opinion. The contingency sponsors read Piston Cup, Nitro Raid, Revolting, Mood Springs, Optigo, No Stall, Vital Gaskets, Gasman, Easy on RPM, Electrical Pistons, Leakless, Retread, and Clutch Aid. You have the little spray can there, which is spraying out a really nice cover design. It's really interesting how they incorporate the gimmicks of the sponsor into the design. It's really cool. The light year tyres there, 76. Vinyl Toupee, vinyl top in a can. Got the black hood there, which is obviously similar to the Vinyl Toupee product itself. 76. This is one of my favourite parts of Krusty's design, this little like car. Similar to the background of the Vinyl Toupee logo, but the spray is like kind of spraying the car and their top there. It's really cool. On the back you got 76 rear light. Vinyl Toupee logo again, and the slogan, "She'll never notice." That's another thing I miss with a lot of the Cars 1 races. They're really interesting, like, slogans and such parts of the design. They kind of like tone that down up with the Cars 3 stock cars and next gens. I feel. Let's compare it to Rev Rodages, the Cars 3 stock car of Vinyl Toupee, another one of my favourites. I always love the Vinyl Toupee races, they're really nice. Obviously a lot of differences in terms of design. Now let's compare to the next gen, which is a little more consistent because it's similar shade of purple. And yeah, that is Crusty Rotor. Anyway guys, that'll be all for this review. See you guys next time. Bye now.